So thank you all for tuning in. I wanted to have just one more class hangout so we could touch base as we wrap up the semester and answer any lingering questions or have one final powwow before our 15 weeks come to an end. So I'm actually going to do it a little bit more informal this time and open the floor up to you guys to see if you have any questions first before we get started, or to drive the discussion rather. No question.
Well, this is not pertaining to the course per se, but I was reading your, what is it, Black Girls? What is the name of it?
Black Girls.
Yeah. Is there like a big movement going on?
It is. Well, it depends. You know, there's something about this word movement, and I talk about it a lot on my blog when I was really engaged, where everyone is like, oh, it's a hashtag, it's a movement. And it's like, it's not really a movement. But Black Girls Run, I would say, is a movement. They started, 2009, I think. Okay. And really have just brought up the profile for Black women in the health and fitness community, and being able to feel comfortable talking about working out and exercising and not worrying about sweating out your edges and things like that. So I took a lot of interest in Black Girls Run when I was in school, because of course I also gained a lot of weight. And I just found it really cool, you know, using this hashtag that I just kept seeing online. But of course they're based out of Atlanta. So I was closer, you know, so the further you get away from Atlanta, of course, you may or may not have heard about them, but there is a chapter here in Houston that has over like 10,000 members, I think.
Oh, okay.
There's a couple that I might be lying, but some of the larger cities, their Facebook groups get to be like thousands and thousands of members. And so there's a very large chapter here in Houston, and they break it up into running groups all over the city and even in the burbs. So almost every day of the week. I love it. Love it, love it. So Leanne has obviously read my research. So did you guys
check it out a little more?
To click around in there where I added up some of the papers that I have been working on?
I read a little bit of your Mary Jane and Twitter paper. I'm kind of interested. I didn't have a lot of time to read all of it, but of course. I dabbled into the introduction and all that.
Okay, so. Well, the reason why I ask is because it might be useful, right, as you guys get ready to work on your final theoretical research paper. Some of it might just be useful so you can see a little bit, because really media is what I do, right? Media, and then I'm always looking at race. And so I don't necessarily use critical race theory, but I do have a critical race perspective. And I use cultural studies and other critical theories to frame that. So I think if you are kind of trying to figure out what does this really look like, then that, not just to gas myself up, but that would be kind of a way, you know, to look at some work that's currently being done that explores some aspects of media and also uses real theory to kind of pick it apart. So I encourage you guys to do that. I think it would be a great help. I did notice, I felt so bad because while I was working on all that research this semester, I didn't have time to grade and give feedback as thoroughly or as quickly as I like to do. So when I finally got around to the summaries, I thought, oh man, I didn't explain this right. And that was an oversight, so a learning moment for me and a learning moment for all of you guys. So hopefully that podcast, Maria, you said you were able to listen to it and it cleared things up for you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Is that the same for everyone? So you're all pretty much better, feel more comfortable with the assignment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I read the assignment description page too. That helped even further. So
okay, Leanne, did that help you out?
Yes, it pretty much, it helped me better.
Okay. Demetrius, did it help you out? Yes? Okay, he has me on mute.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm playing the mute game. Okay. But absolutely. It was definitely helpful.
So as long as you guys feel comfortable with that, of course there's going to be a quiz this weekend, but that's the only thing that you have left for us to work on. That's really all that I wanted to talk about. I know my other class hangout tonight was kind of brief too, but if you don't have any questions about that, then I'm all for letting you guys go forth and prosper. I tried to put everything that I could. How can I make this clear? Gave you some examples, gave you the new assignment sheet, gave you the podcast. And if you haven't listened to the podcast, please go back and listen to it, because it was, my way of just kind of bringing you guys up to speed.
Yeah.
Other than that, the only other thing I wanted to talk about was registration and course evaluation. So before we get to that, any last thoughts on the class or anything?
I really love this class. I learned a lot. It was really intense, and I really loved it. I did. Yes.
I got really emotional yesterday when I was putting together my notes for this week. Did you guys look about? So I was reading the Shonda Rhimes book literally this weekend, and it took me forever to finish that book, by the way, but it was good. I got to her Human Rights Campaign speech talking about normalizing television and normalizing representation, and I was like, this is so spot on, with what we've been talking about for the past 2 weeks, this like almost her activism, right? And then thinking, well, why is this even activism? Why are we celebrating people just doing something that should be so basic? Like, look at our classroom, right? So why don't classrooms on television look more like Houston? Well, a lot of classrooms don't look like Houston, and that's another problem, right? But, if we were to put a fictionalized college setting, most likely it won't look like our class. It'll look like, Seventh Heaven or Dawson's Creek or something like that. And they'll be like, oh, look, this is school. And then when you come to class and you look around, you're like, this is nothing like I imagined it would be, because it's not real. And so, people kind of get these kudos for doing something that should be normalized, and people who are not doing that, you should kind of really call into question that representation. And that's what I do in my research. Like, this right here is not real life. So why are we continuing to support that and continuing to depict this group or that group in that way without having those nuances or complexities that reflect real life? So I was so emotional. I was like, this is so perfect. And I was like writing all up, and I'm like, you guys too can go start your own TV show. You can go develop your own training course, right? Your own training in your workplace, or ask your boss or someone else, hey, I've noticed we don't ever talk about this. How can we carve out a space for us to talk about this? Because it's something, particularly in our current climate, it's a skill that we all need, right? Everyone wants to either talk about or around race and ethnicity right now. So who better to take it on than you guys, who have now been formally trained in really coming from a critical and theoretically informed perspective, which I think is amazing. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the class. I really love teaching it. It's probably my favorite this semester, but don't tell anyone else. We're not supposed to have favorites. So any other final thoughts, man? I could talk about this stuff all day.
I forgot which chapter it was from, but there was a section called A Declaration of Appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked that, and I actually wrote it down on my notes on my phone to keep, because I liked how that was all worded. So I made my own declaration of appreciation.
I have a declaration outside of my door in my office. If you guys ever get a chance to stop by, a peacekeeper's promise in difficult times or something like that, that kind of float around, just because, we don't always think about stuff. We're not always thinking about all these different things that are happening all the time. And I know that was something that was mentioned in the last discussion forum. Like, oh, I never noticed stereotypes until I'm outraged, but the person sitting right next to you on the couch could be outraged, or the person in your class, might be outraged, and you're just like, la da 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 da, because we're not always thinking about what's happening to anyone outside of what we know. And so I have a peacekeeper's promise that says basically, hey, when things are about to hit the fan, I'm here, I'm aware that everyone is going through their own kind of situation. Everyone is battling ignorance, and everyone is, battling life. And so I'm going to stand with you because I know what it feels like. And we all do. So yeah, I'm glad you appreciated that. Hopefully more people will take that and make a vow to be an ally. But I didn't want to push you guys, right?
Yeah, that's another way the class opened my eyes too, because being Black, you always think you're the only ones that's people of color,
Yeah.
But now I notice like it's it opened my eyes to see no, we're not just the people of color. So
yeah. I really enjoyed. I mean, I actually, the author of the textbook, Dr. Harris, the other Dr. Harris, is one of my mentors at the University of Georgia, and she is just brilliant, and I just love her. But we have such a completely different dynamic teaching this course because she's at a predominantly white institution. And so in some of my friends when I was there studying who took her class before, they might have been the only Black person in a room full of white students. And there just wasn't that much diversity. And so a lot of her work is really just introducing new idea after new idea after new idea after new idea. And, it can be really challenging, but I think because of the diversity at UH downtown, man, my job was easy. Everybody kind of knew where we were coming from. Everyone has their own kind of experience or their own story to tell. And when you guys were sharing some of those stories, I was like, wow, because that's what the aha moment is, right, Leanne? Like you were saying, it's not just about Black people. You have multiracial people and biracial people who have things that are said to them, Hispanic people, Latino people who are having things said to them, Christine, who's Asian, right, wanting to hang with this crowd, wanting to hang with that crowd, or trying to be the model minority. It's for everyone, and it's not just, I'm on this struggle by myself. Like, we all have our own biases. And I think oftentimes when we talk about race, people are always like, oh, you're making this a Black thing. Like, it's not just about Black people. It's not at all about Black people. We all have our own racial, biases. So I'm glad that was a good moment for you. I love teaching this class here because some of those stories I was like, wow, even for me, I never thought about that. And that's the issue. We don't think about that.
Yes.
So you gotta think about that. Okay. So my last two contributions, unless you guys want to keep chatting about race, because I'm okay with that too. My last two contributions is to please do your course evaluations. You should have gotten a link yesterday. Yeah. Well, you should. I'm gonna put it out on Blackboard too, Leanne. So if you don't have it, I'll share it too. Okay. It's so important that you guys do your course evaluations. I know sometimes students think, oh, nobody's reading them. We are. We don't get to read them until way after you're gone. And of course, they're anonymous. But they're so important, and they are very meaningful for how we continue to structure the class in the future. It's meaningful for my department chairs, if they want to say, oh, maybe this class should be face-to-face, or maybe it should be online, or this practice was effective and this one isn't effective. We need to know, that feedback. And so whatever you liked about the course, of course, put that in there. If there was any critique or anything else, put that in there. It's just really important that we get an opportunity to hear from you guys. So please do your course evaluation. Oh, hi, Jaquicia.
Hey, I thought it started at 7:30. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine. I'm going to put the recording up on Blackboard. So, because we're about wrapping up now, unless you had any questions that you wanted to ask.
No, I just kind of wanted to hear your final statements, but I guess I'll listen to the recording.
Yeah, I just did like this long emotional speech. Like,
I'm so sorry.
No, So we're talking about course evaluation. So make sure you guys do your course evaluations, not only for my class, but for every class, of course. And then I wanted to ask if you guys had any questions about registration or advising. Any questions about registration or advising?
No.
No? Okay. So I put the classes that I'm teaching. If you want to jump in any of those, just make sure you register for something, right? Unless you're graduating, please make sure you go ahead and register. I know I already have some classes that are closed, unfortunately. So be ahead of the game. Don't be behind.
Yeah.
And I think that was pretty much it. They always want us to encourage you guys, if you are skipping advising or whatever the case, make sure you go ahead and register for those classes so we can make a space for you and be prepared, right? Be prepared for the next semester. Anything else? No.
A lot of papers to write.
A lot of people will go. Like, don't let me hold you guys up.
Okay.
If you feel confident, if you feel ready to go for it, there weren't a lot of questions tonight. I'm confident in you guys. Post it on Blackboard, and I'll have office hours on Thursday one more time for the end of the semester. So my regular time, I'll have office hours. And then, of course, with classes being over next week, it's going to be a little bit different. But you can feel free to send me an email or set up a one-on-one or a phone call or something, just like we've been doing all semester, so that if you have a question that comes up while you're writing next week, we can address that too. Cool?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, you guys have a great night. Wait, let me see. Jacquees, were you saying something?
Yeah, I have one question. Do you drop one of the quizzes or no? By that face, and that means no. Okay.
No, I dropped an exam. I dropped an exam in my other class, but I don't drop the quizzes. But we've had several extra credit opportunities that have equal to one quiz grade. I have made sure that has been the case, so that if you missed or failed the quiz, if you did the extra credit opportunities, you should still be at the same.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so that wraps us up for the night. I wish you all the best. I can't wait to read your papers. If you need anything, please feel free to reach out in the next few weeks or so.
Can I ask one more quick
Thank
question?
you very much. Thank you.
We had an extra credit?
You guys can go if you need to go, and then I'll talk to Leanne privately.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.